Hey, what's up ladies and gents? Welcome to my gameplay review of eFootball 4.0. I'll be purely focused on the gameplay and not the game modes, and at the end I'm going to give this game a score. I'm pleased to say it is a big improvement overall of the past release, but there are some newly introduced flaws which I'm going to touch on in this review. But the overall experience has been positive and the game is moving in the right direction, which has a far more realistic feel to it now. Visually, the graphics have improved, although having unlocked all the graphic options on PC mods in the past, I wasn't really surprised how the game was going to look, but these are now available to the general public without messing around with the background files, which is absolutely great. However, the crowd do still look terrible, but the improved turf and player details along with the soft shadows are the noticeable changes here. On PC it looks stunning on the pitch. Just avoid looking at the inanimate crowd in the background waving their badgeless flags. I will say that the turf does look a little saturated at times on my PC. You'll have to let me know if the graphics options are unlocked on your consoles and tell me how the performance is down in the comment section. On the pitch, the thing you're going to notice first is that the ball feels heavier. The pass speed has been slightly reduced, slowing down the game a little bit, adding to that realistic factor. However, low passes are a little bit hit and miss, often not going to the player intended or how you would expect. Like I wanted to play the ball between two defenders, but instead it played the ball on the outside, making the pass easily intercepted. I believe this is affected by a bug, which I'm going to touch on later. The lofted pass is much improved, but still needs work in getting the height right, as I mentioned in my list of needs for the next release. Or at least some control over how high you kick the ball off the ground. Stunning passes, lofted passes and through balls can be used to raise the tempo of your game, switching the ball from left to right or right to left just to open those gaps in your opponent's back line. One of the biggest changes from a gameplay point of view is the first touch. It takes your player longer now to control the ball, and this helps slow the overall pace of the game down, adding more realism to this game, which I really like. However, the one-touch pass is now more accurate, and what you're going to find is you're going to be fighting your player being closed down, and you're going to want to lay the ball off quickly with that buffed one-touch pass. So what that's going to do is going to make the game feel faster again, especially against those Mom's Credit Card FC squads. And one of the things I noticed is that players really struggle when receiving the ball off the ground. Any lofted passes or bubble can lead to some awkward moments, like the players don't actually know where the ball is, often hitting their head or their hand and just bouncing off them as if they didn't know the ball was actually there. Another thing regarding first touch is that sometimes it doesn't always respond to your input commands. Often angling off my left stick, your player won't react to that input. It's an infrequent bug, but it is there, making the game feel a little unresponsive at times and certainly a glaring loss of control in the game. The poor first touch can be negated though, using either first or finesse first touch or the new finesse dribbling, which I'm going to touch on later. But if you don't abuse the one-touch football, you will find that you've got a much slower and more realistic feeling football game on your hands, and against the AI, it can be a lot of fun. However, online, everyone is going to abuse that one-touch pass buff, and it's going to make the game feel faster online, but still not as fast as any of the eFootball's previous offerings. Another big change is the physical battles happening all over the pitch, and I really enjoy and welcome this change. It's based on player stats, and I find that my quick, lightweight strikers are no longer the sole solution. Sometimes having a player with a bit more muscle isn't a bad idea now, and they can feel like a handful for some defenders. You're going to be fighting with the defender as you bear down on goal, and if you can break away and score, it gives you that feeling you wouldn't have experienced in the eFootball era. Collisions have much improved and there's far less awkward coming together of players. It's not perfect, but a massive improvement on what we've had to experience for the past few years. They have removed the ability to shield the ball using left trigger, and it is now automated just like it was in PES 2021. This for me is a good move, as the slightest touch would sometimes result in a huge disconnect between the player and the ball, and why try and fix something that wasn't broken in PES 21. Talking about shots, the shot speed has been slowed down slightly, and there is a new blue bar for finesse shots. The one thing I really like about this update is the timing is so important. regardless of what you're doing in eFootball. Press the shoot button too soon and your player is going to skew his shot or volley wide, and too late and he's going to miss the ball altogether. Sadly, scoring feels either really great or totally meh. It's like literally no in between. I can't put my finger on what the issue is, but I know that it's the way my players, I don't know if it's like the way my players strike the ball or the trajectory or the power or how the goalkeepers react, or because the goalkeepers stay on their line still. I just honestly don't know why it feels this way to me. Players do feel now more weighty now, with and without the ball, which is a good thing, and it does a good job without making them feel unresponsive, which again I think adds to the realism here. Dribbling at fast pace is less rewarding, as I found it difficult to get the timing right at first and I kept running into defenders. So slower dribbling with the use of finesse dribbling to lure that defender in before skipping past him with a bit of skill or a burst of speed is probably the best way to go. I do find that this is positive because once again it slows the overall pace of the game down. You're not constantly sprinting and you'll be required to break down your opponent carefully and precisely. Skills are much the same, and the CPU, whilst improved in almost every way, especially offensively, do a good job at reading the right amount of skills from yourselves. And talking of finesse dribbling, which is now assigned to the left trigger with default controls, is an absolute game changer. It really does help you retain the ball and is a great way to pull your opponent's defenders out of defense and look for a 1-2 to get in behind. I think it's really well implemented, and I'm really glad that they moved away from the left and right analog stick input for this command. So this is definitely a welcome change, and I'm going to have a full tutorial on finesse dribbling and just how you can chain it with other skills as well coming soon. Crossing the ball has been slowed down a little bit too, and the stunning low driven cross isn't as effective, but it's still probably the optimal way to cross the ball when scoring from the wide area. Now remember how I said passing can be a little bit tricky at times? It's because the player positioning in this update is terrible. Some of the formations and playstyles are completely broken. The 3-4-3 possession playstyle, for example, often my wide players would switch sides, often be in the middle of the park. Even when I set them to anchoring, didn't even help. So this definitely needs a patch to rectify, as it's frustrating to be limited to certain tactics without trying to fix the craziness of the players just wandering around all over the place and making these weird movements on the pitch. In terms of defending, the way to defend properly has completely changed now. They've removed the shielding button, and I'm going to bring a tutorial on how to defend in this new eFootball update. However, player selection here is terrible. I can't count the amount of times dealing with a simple through ball into the penalty box has been so difficult. Getting the player I want seems to be more based on luck than skill, and often when defending I'm frantically mashing the player select button in hope that it chooses the right player. The matchup has been much improved too. You can no longer really hold it or press it unless you're absolutely sure you're going to be able to intercept. Otherwise, your player was going to make that lunge regardless of how far away you are from the ball. You could literally be 12 yards away and he's still going to make that lunge, potentially leaving you exposed and at a numerical disadvantage as you're defending. I really like this as it adds a much needed skill gap to the game. Shoulder barge has been nerfed to oblivion, thank goodness. Perhaps too much, as even a shoulder barge side by side often results in a foul, but I'm going to take that over the abuse of it in the last two releases. Players would literally just ram you in the back, win the ball, and there'll be no repercussions or foul. The CPU is so much better now, being far less predictable and utilising skills at their disposal. Watching Garnacho and Luis Diaz tear me apart was actually enjoyable because I got so used to them just constantly passing around in front of my back line as I waited for them just to turn over possession in the past few releases. On Legend AI, it's a very enjoyable experience and a welcome challenge with even team strength. Bring on Master League, hey Konami? Sadly, in terms of goalkeepers, they still stay on their line. This has to be addressed at some point. This is probably one of my main issues now when it comes to goal scoring, and why I say goal scoring feels pretty meh, especially against the AI. They just allow you to run up to the goalkeeper 6 yards out and tap it in. Other than that, they do concede the odd long ranger, which is great to see. That was one of the things I really didn't like about PES 21. Goalkeepers were pretty much impossible to score past at 30 yards on Legend difficulty. Smart AI. Yes, I have tried the Smart AI and actually hampers my gameplay, but I can see how it would benefit newer players who are unfamiliar with the controls, and they're going to get that helping hand, but those experienced players will still be able to overcome those using Smart AI, in my opinion. I want to play a low through ball, and it decided to perform a scoop through ball instead, which was much easier to intercept and defend against. I don't think we have anything to worry about right now unless it evolves, but personally I would like this feature removed, especially kept away from the online game. Maybe keep it for mobile users, as playing on a mobile device can be tricky, but now I'm probably going to get loads of abuse from mobile users. I've experienced a few crashes on PC, mainly around the menus thankfully, though this isn't really impacting my match results, but it's still not great to see that it's crashing randomly depending where I go. The net fanatics, yes, I'm looking at you, Gafano. We're going to be happy with the physics as they look on point, and with the enhanced graphics look really good in game. So to conclude, this is the best update since version 1, which I gave a rating at 7 out of 10. It's probably as good as version 1, but in a different way. Personally, I found version 1 to be more fun and more skill based, whilst this is probably more aimed at realism, but still a little bit hand-holdy in defending. I would say if you've not played eFootball in a while, to give it a try and give it a bash. It's slower paced, but there are some issues with the player movement, positioning and input lag around the first touch. Players' inability to deal with lofted passes and through balls or aerial through balls is frustrating, but if these bugs were ironed out without any other untouched gameplay aspects, we could possibly see the best version of eFootball to date. That's all from me, ladies and gents. Thank you so much for watching and supporting the channel. Any likes, shares and subscribes, obviously greatly appreciated, and I wish you all a great day. Take care of yourselves, stay safe, I'll see you soon, bye bye.